Oh yeah, we is live. Welcome to Saturday, the 25th of July. That's right. We're in it to win it today. Today's going to be exciting. I don't know if you know this, going to be analyzing Bram Stoker's. Oh, I got Bram Stoker's. My dyslexia was going back and forth. I was putting the R after the T. There was no Bram Stoker. All right, so today we are going to be analyzing the first chapter of the Dracula. If you don't know, see, look, I even have an R here. Jesus. All right. If you don't know, Dracula was written on May 26, 1897. No, just kidding. This is when it was published. He didn't write the book in one day on the 18th of 97. Anyway, this is, what is this? It's 1819. It's a 100, and what is this? 30 years-ish? It's old. This book is old. If you didn't know, 30 years? Very old. Very old. First and foremost, couple things. Very long chapter. It's 5,711 words. That means we're actually going to be only focusing on the first scene. 1,300 words. This is a very long chapter. I also did a pre-read to get the beginning, middle, and end of the scene organized. Because, let's be honest, this is long. But the original chapter at 5,700 words is 3 scenes long. There is indeed a beginning, a middle, and end. And actually, believe it or not, the scenes themselves set up, challenge, and resolve. So the first scene does indeed set up the chapter. The second scene does challenge the chapter itself. And of course, it resolves forward. But we're going to mainly focus on the first chapter, because that's what we do. Before we get started, let's go say hello to everyone. Hello, ciao, bella, mia amica. Who doesn't love this book? Hey, it's me, Dracula. Ciao, bella. Ciao, Tommaso's friends, amigos. Mikis? Yeah. Hello. That's me. I did not go with the AI'd Dracula. I just went with a cute little Dracula. That was all I did. Hey, what's up? Hey, Afghani's here to play. Hard to decide on the poll. Yeah, the poll is difficult. This is the hardest poll we've had since the beginning. What's up, Shawninator? How's it going? If you don't know, there is indeed a poll. We will talk about it at the end of the hour. Which do you prefer reading about? Vampires, not the sparkly ones. Fae, doesn't matter if they're big, small, or with wings, or no wings. Werewolves, not the man-wolves like in Twilight. I mean, what I'm saying is, I am talking about man-wolves, not the wolves like in Twilight, where they turn into like, or even True Blood, where they just turn into wolves. I'm talking about like real werewolves, you know, they look like me. All right, and then of course ghosts and demons. We'll talk about that at the end of the hour. But other than that, like I said, today we are going to be analyzing Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now you might be saying to yourself, Thomas, what is the purpose of what we're doing today? Well, if you're a writer, and I know you are, even if you haven't written a book, you're still a writer. I don't like this whole, you're not a writer unless you have like 300 books. What do you know about writing? You don't have 4,800,000 books. By the way, fun fact, if you ever talk to somebody and they're like, for example, they say to you, hey, I hear you're a writer. And you go, yeah, I'm a writer. And then like you give some advice on writing and they go, I can't take any of your advice. You've only written 1 or none books. And then you say to them, well, you're taking your own advice. And they go, yeah, I know everything about writing. I'm clearly capable. And you go, but you don't have any books. Doesn't that break? You've been autismed. All right, let's get into it. I do want to say this. I will be, wait, because I want to use my template for you guys today. I want to use my template for you guys today. All right. Yeah, I want to use the template. Let me set this up so you have a visual today. We're gonna use a visual. Is this the new one? Did I resend this? I think I resent this. Oh my lord. Not the one. All right. Where is it? Where? I thought I redid it. It's not there. Oh, here it is. Okay. Boom. All right. I cleaned it up. By the way, most of you should have this new one if you are a member of YouTube memberships or Patreon or Substack. You should have the updated version of this. I did update this for people and I sent it to you. If you're not a member, that's okay. It is still available on PayHip. The link is in the description and also will be in the thing. So today what we're going to do is we're going to actually, I'm going to go through the phases. We're going to analyze it. We're going to see if something is happening but nothing is happening. Is there a beginning, middle, and end? So I did add a couple things to this because it's important. The first thing we're going to do though is something happening, or is something happening but nothing is happening. The reason I have this first on any analysis is because if this doesn't get satisfied, none of the other stuff matters. Ultimately, yeah, people could be shooting guns, they could be talking, somebody could be drinking blood. But if it's not moving through the emotional experiences and choices of your characters, and it's only exposition and or description without character, the rest of it doesn't matter. Now, I will say this. Remember, this book came out in 1800s. Right before the 1900s. So the writing is much different. And for that reason, I'm actually going to be adding an element to the analysis, which is we're going to compare what it was back then and how writing has evolved. I will say, though, this book is written in diary form, so it is slightly different than your traditional prose. Angel Faye. Tomorrow I'll be getting 2 packages. That's what I like to hear, Angel Faye. Woo, 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 woo. By the way... Angel Faye, I moved up your chapter thingy. The thing you sent me. I moved it up because somebody had to switch it out. So we might be seeing something a little sooner. Hey, look at the birthday girl. Ooh, what is us? SB. Hey, SB. Hey, Angel Faye. All right, let's get into it. Let's do the fun. Good luck. All right, let's do it. So, like I said, the beginning, middle, and end does exist. It's there. It's very much there. This whole first opening of the scene definitely sets up the concept of the chapter, or at least this scene first. It's ultimately him arriving. So he arrives at Vienna, he gets a hotel, blah, 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 blah. The conflict is we are changing his comfortability. So remember, when you're working with a scene or a chapter, all right, let's explain it this way first. When you're working with a chapter, which is usually a full scene, the beginning must set up what we are going to play with in that chapter. The chapter, the middle itself will then challenge the things we set up, and then the resolution will move the narrative forward, either by solving the problem created by the middle of the chapter or presenting the potential for a solution. Now, more importantly, the chapter itself as a whole must move a fragment of the macro narrative forward. With that said, if a chapter has more than one scene, 2, 3, 4, I've seen 5 or even 6, each scene must also maintain a beginning, middle, and end. This is the difference, though. If you're focused on more than one scene in a chapter, the scenes are building on the fragment of the macro narrative within that chapter. Okay? But the chapter as a whole, with all those scenes, must move that fragment forward. You got that? Fragment forward. I'm hungry now. Okay. At the end, though, basically, this first scene resolves with a letter from Dracula. Come Dracula. And he's just saying, hey, when you get there, go stay at the Golden Crone Hotel. So, the first scene is very simple. Dracula is generic. Bleh. You know, Afghani, I would say this. Dracula was not Dracula. He was not generic when he first came out, and I would say for the first 100 years. Dracula has become basically a characterization in itself, and you know, I get it. I get what you're saying, but I would argue that in the beginning. Hey, it's a Nicole. It's a Nicole. The party has begun. Hola, ¿cómo estás, amiga? All right. Anyway, so yeah, the beginning, middle. I was kidding. I don't disagree. I think Dracula has become drab. You know, where, you know, he's Dracula, and then they try to change Dracula up by making different kind of vampires and stuff. But Dracula as an idea is fantastic. Is way better than Dracula. Ooh, Carmilla. The first half of Dracula is way different than the second half. It's actually startling, in my opinion. Interesting. We did not know this. I believe Nicole has done a review on Dracula, if you want to watch it on her channel. Long time no see. All right, so I did jump the gun. We looked to see if there's a beginning, a middle, and end, only because I did the work already. So ultimately, the beginning of this scene, not the full chapter, but the scene itself, the first scene, sets it up by the arrival, and then it challenges how the character feels and the way they're experiencing their arrival. Look how long these movements are. Jesus. All right, and then ultimately it just ends with, hey, by the way, Jonathan Harker. Now we know who's talking, right? Because it's in first person. Even though we know it's Jonathan Harker up here. Entry. I do like the diary element of it. I do like that. I did a review on Camilla, not Dracula. Maybe I will for spooky season, yeah. I think you should, my friend. Hi, Angel Faye. The big books of text. The big blocks of text do suck. All right, so let's get into the next thing, which is we're gonna get rid of the colors. All right, and by the way, if you don't know, this is the next scene. We're not gonna actually focus on all that stuff. Beep 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 beep. Dracula. We're only focusing on the first scene, okay? So what am I looking for? Again, phase one is I'm looking for something is happening, but nothing is happening. We want stuff to happen. We want it to move through the emotional experiences and choices of the characters. We do not want it to be exposition for exposition's sake or description for description's sake. So things are being described, but not through the character, or exposition is just information being informed. When you're writing, keep in mind, this book came out in 1897. The evolution of storytelling has indeed evolved. If you believe that, hey, they're doing it back then, why do I got to do it now? You know, why can't I do what they did back then? It's because you know how we all like television, and then we liked film, and then we like really loved the movies, and now it's like everything's streaming, and now everything, you can watch everything on your phone, right? Storytelling evolves, and so does the method in which storytelling evolves. Plus, our likes and dislikes on the presentations have also evolved. So we are looking through the lens of our present, but ultimately, I'm doing this as an example to be like, look, writing evolves, it changes. So just an idea for a title for the Viv. A professional editor from the future analyzes Bram Stoker. I actually really like that. Please do not do this now. What? Please do not do. Don't do what? Don't do what? All right, here goes. Jonathan Harker's journal. This is exposition. Oh, let's do the color coding for everybody. Exposition. If I could get the word out. Description. And then, of course, character. All right. So, exposition is going to just be the red, and then description will do as a yellow, and then of course character will be green. And we want to see more green. Well, hell yeah, please. Yes, agreed. Do not write your books in the style of Bram Stoker. You can attempt it, but I would recommend at least modifying it to have your voice and, of course, change. All right, this is exposition. Why is it exposition? Because it's just simply stating a fact. 3 May. It's awesome. Left Munich on the first day, arriving at Vienna early next morning. Should have arrived at 6:46, but the train was an hour late. Exposition. Anyway, Budapest seems a whole wonderful place from the glimpse which I got of it from the train and the little I could walk through the streets. You know what's interesting? I'm actually going to give this to character, and I'll tell you why. This is a position. They're making an emotional position on it. All right. Seems a wonderful place is a position, so the character is actually describing it. So it's not just description for description's sake. It has an opinion. So this is good. From the glimpse which I got, by the way, it's also in first person. I feared to go very far from the station, as we had arrived late, and I would start as near as the correct time as possible. I'm also going to sort of give this character. Beep. All right. The impression I got was that we were leaving the west and entering the east, the most western of splendid bridges over the Danube, which is here of a noble width and depth. Okay. All right. The impression I had was that we were leaving the west. This could arguably be character because it is, again, it's their position. It's an impression. It's a belief. The impression I had. Problem is, the majority of this is what I would call exposition. So I'm actually going to double this one up. We're going to give this first half a character and say it earned it. But the rest of this is just... Okay. Right now, as you can see, even back then, the opening passage, which is very long, still has more character than it does exposition. Again, to clarify, there's nothing wrong with having sentences that are only exposition or only description. The goal, though, is to have more character than you do have exposition or description. Why? Because character pulls you through the narrative. Character gives you something to play with and attach to. A description, if I describe this can, not as interesting as how I feel about it or how it feels in my presence. So it's something to keep in mind. Tony Walker made an audio on YouTube of Dracula. He has a fabulous Dracula roast. We're going to have to... So he is. Look up Tony Walker. This is for me later. All right. Audio of the book. I'm definitely going to have to check that out. All right. Let's keep going. Was this written in English? It was written in English, I believe. Right? Dracula was originally written in English. Yes, Dracula was originally written in English by Irish author Bram Stoker and published in May 1897. Interesting and an interesting translation twist. While the English text is the definitive original, early foreign translations sometimes took creative liberties. For example, 1912 Icelandic translation titled, I can't pronounce that, Mikrana, published in English as Powers of Darkness, added entirely new plot elements and an introduction by Stoker, turning it into a noticeably different reading experience. Look at that. We learned something today. We learned ourselves something today, and that's important. Yes, it is. Bram is... There you go. Bram is Irish. All right. We left in pretty good time and came after nighttime to. All right, I'm actually going. This is exposition. I know it says we left in pretty good time. There is a sense of, if you want, we could do this. We could be diplomatic about that. All right. Here I stopped for the night at the hook. This is exposition. Interesting. There hasn't really been description yet. I had for dinner. Oh, I had for dinner, or rather supper. I like when supper's used. I had for dinner rather than supper a chicken done up some way with red pepper, which was very good. Thirsty. All right. I mean, uh, we're gonna give a character because of the end, which was very good but thirsty. But I would argue this is, you know what? This is exposition. Exposition. This little bit is a little character. We got a little bit of character, and it's cute. It's cute. I like it. When I get around to chapter 1 again, I'll be doing this with the highlighting. You should. This really does help. I've been having my students. I've been teaching my students at the library to do this. This is something I do for developmental editing, and I do it because it helps me. I have autism. But it's an easy visual identifier. And all it means, by the way, if anyone's watching this for the first time and doesn't necessarily understand what I'm doing, I'm looking for exposition, description, and character. There's nothing wrong with having either of these two, expositions or description. The goal, again, is to have more character than anything. The issue here is you're looking for when there's too much red and maybe too much yellow, and green is sort of like filtered through there. Like, for example, here's a sentence that is half what I would consider just straight exposition and a little bit of character. If every sentence was like this, that would be an issue. And you as a writer should be making the choice of, let me go back in and filter the exposition and descriptions through the characters' experiences and choices, specifically their emotional experiences, choices. And it will elevate the book greatly. Now, does that mean you're going to have more words or less words? It really depends on how you write the experiences. But honestly, the engagement comes through being connected to the characters. That's why sometimes first person is so powerful for readers, because it's so intimate and it's so engaging, especially if it's moving through their deepest emotional experiences. Anyway, get the receipt. Oh, memo, get the receipt. This is exposition. I asked the waiter, and he said it was called paprika Hendel, and that as it was a national dish, I should be able to get it anywhere along the Carpathians. The Carpathians. This is exposition. All right, now we're getting a look. I found my smattering. I like that smattering of German. Very useful here. Indeed, I don't know how I should be able to get on without it. This is character. This is a position. They are describing their experience. Who's this? Hey, it's Ro. On the pole, none of the above. Fantastic. So what you're telling us, Ro, is you would never read vampires, fae, werewolves, ghosts, and demons. But if you had to read a book and it had any of those, none of those elements would actually influence if you were going to enjoy the book or if you want to read the book. Those things are invisible to you. Got it. All right. Having had some time at my disposal when in London, top of the morning to you. Oh, wait, that's Irish. I had visited the British Museum and made search among the books and maps in the library regarding... It had struck me that some foreknowledge of the country could hardly fit. Woo! All right, this is exposition. I find that the district he named is in the extreme east of the country, just one of the borders, Transylvania, Mr. Cobania Mountains, one of the wild... Okay. Whoop. All right. So this first half is just pure exposition. This is a position. When I say position, it's what a character believes, it's their opinions, it's how they look at things. So one of the wildest and least known portions of Europe. If this is not his thoughts and this is just the statement, then this would become exposition. So I'm going to assume it's a position. I have all of those except demons. Demons! Howdy, bro. Can't go wrong with a little demon, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like a foot-long demon. All right. I was not able to light on... What? Or work giving the exact castle diagram maps. Okay. All right. But I found that the post named Dracula fairly well placed. Okay, all right. I was not able to light on any map. I would say this is exposition, but this is character. But I found that because the poorest name is a fairly well-known place. But I found. So that creates a position. All right. I'm not going to do the whole thing because we got a couple other things I'd like to do for analysis. But at the end of the day, there is more green in the beginning, and then it gets pretty chunky with red. So what I do is I pull it back like this, and I look at it. This, to me, is already showing a little too much red. There is zero description, which means the immersion is almost not even there. So that's important to be aware of. Hey, Sean, what is up? Okay. So yeah, if I kept going, look how long this is. Anyway. All right, let's get into it. So what does this mean? It means if I was working with somebody and the chapter wasn't satisfying this first need, my note would be you got to go back in and start reworking it. None of the other stuff is really going to be that important right now. If you want to kind of build in more character. That's my first note. However, obviously I would keep going. The thing is, if what I am analyzing or what you are analyzing of your own work, if the majority of it is exposition, do not move on to the next phases. It's just, you have to change that. If it is all red or mostly red, all this other stuff doesn't matter. The beginning, middle, and end, maybe you can argue that, and sure, you definitely want to make sure there's a beginning, middle, and end. But once you get to phase 2, you're looking for making sure that there's macro narrative in it. You know, you want to write a summary of the chapter. You could argue you could do that if you really want, but you're going to be tracing pace. And if it's all exposition, don't even do that. The pacing isn't even the issue anymore right now. The fact that it's overwhelmingly exposition or overwhelmingly description without much character, you know, getting into like the show don't tell, you already know there's little to no show because there's no emotional character. Show sometimes tell is emotional experience and choices. So the other thing is environment. The environment isn't even that present. I haven't even, do you know what I'm saying? So if the first point, something is happening but nothing is happening, is not being qualified or earned, this stuff doesn't even exist. The environment's not present through the interaction. The lived world is sort of kind of there. I could argue that but it's just explaining the world itself. And then it doesn't matter. This stuff doesn't matter. You know? All right. Well, let's get into it though. We're going to keep going as if it does satisfy all the needs. We already did this, so we're going to go to phase 2. All right. We're not going to write a summary. We don't need to do that. But you should write a summary of your scene, chapters, and the characters. What does that mean? It means if your chapter is just one long scene, just write a summary of that chapter, but then also what characters, main characters, were in that chapter. Write out a summary of what they did. Don't really go more than 5 sentences. Just keep it short and tight. It's also helpful for practicing writing concisely. All right. If there are more than one scene in a chapter, then summarize each scene and then summarize the purpose of the chapter altogether. Don't just make it up. Figure it out through what you read. That is the secret. You're trying to summarize what you read and not summarizing what you think it is. You're supposed to use what you read. All right. Let's go to pacing. I do love a little pacing. Basically, what we're looking for is a movement spending too little or too much time on a narrative beat. We already know this is true because of the massive text blocks. Did the reader get too much or too little context? Because remember the 3 C's: context, clarity, and concision. You want it to be concise. Do the sentence movements keep the narrative flowing? How many scenes are within a chapter? This one has 3, and they do their job. I already looked into that. Check chapter lengths before. This chapter is kind of long. All right, so let's get into. We are looking at pace, and how do we do pace? Very simply, I just mark out each element of information. Remember, pace is the speed at which information is presented to the reader. It is not word count. For example, we are learning that this is Jonathan Harker's journal. That's one piece of information, even though it's 3 words, because German, I think, is 3. Is it 3 in German? No, whatever. Long chapters with huge blocks of text equal not to me. Agreed. I mean, the simple fix is literally just going through and being like, train, got path. This is the secret. You just break it up. But you break it up into movements. So this is, I arrived, but the train was an hour late. Budapest was kind of nice, blah, blah, blah. Train was through the streets. And then this is more of like an internal thought. So that becomes a new movement, right? So when you're writing your own stuff and you see these massive blocks, usually there's more than one movement in there. You just didn't recognize it when you were first writing your 0, 1st, 2nd. I'd even argue your 3rd draft. So it's really to go in and feel out what could be broken up, and that technically fixes the issue. But right now, let's get into it. Yeah. All right, pacing. Again, all I do is I just count it out. So per sentence, 3 May. I would actually consider this one thing. So 3 May. This is 2 points of information. 2 points. Look how long that. Okay. Left Minsk 8:35 on. Okay, so that's left Minsk at 8:35 on May 1st. Arriving at Vienna early next morning. Should have arrived at 6:46. It's important to know that they did not get there on time, but the train was an hour late. Technically, that's 5 points of information. All right, next sentence. Budapest seems a wonderful place from the glimpse which I got of it from the train, technically, and the little I could walk through the streets. So that's 3 points. Next. I feared to go very far from the station, as we had arrived late and would, repeating this, had arrived late and would start as near as the correct time as possible. I'm only going to count that as 2. Now, that's an example of 2 points of information, but look how long that sentence is. It's 24 words. This one, let's see how many words this is. This is 28 words and has 5. So there's more information in this first sentence right here than there was in this sentence. You know. Anyway, all right. The impression I had was that we were leaving the west and entering the east. That's technically 1 point of information. The most western of splendid bridges over the I think that's Danube. I don't know. Which is here of noble width and depth, took us among the. That's 4 pieces of information. What do we got? Didn't seem to know how to get to the point. Just saying. I'm not disagreeing, my friend. I am not disagreeing. All right, and then now I'm actually gonna just do this one, and then I'm gonna talk pace. I'm not gonna do the whole thing because we could be here all day. So we did technically the first movement. This is the second movement. Unless we really wanted to, we could turn this into a new movement, but we're not gonna right now. Okay, now let's just do this one real quick. We left in pretty good time and came after night to Klassenburg. Klassenburg. All right. Here I stopped for the night at the hotel. That's 1. Excellent. Again, this is 1 piece of information. 40. 10 words. Okay. All right. I had for dinner, or rather supper, it's still only one, a chicken done up some way with red pepper, which was very good but tasty. All right. So that's 3. This is technically 1. It's a long thing. I asked the waiter, and he said it was called all right, and that, as it was a national dish, I should be able to get it anywhere along the Carpathians. Thick. Carmilla was written before Dracula by Sheridan Le Fan and loads better. And there's some controversy about Bram taking a lot of inspiration from Camilla because it's almost the same setup. Interesting. I also like Camilla's a good name. And that means you need to look at Camilla. Way better writing. All right. I'll put it on the list, my friend. You know I like looking at writing. All right, so let's break this down. If you don't know, I do have a nice little cheat sheet here. So sentences that are 1 to 2 points of information are considered fast pace. Sentences that have 3 to 4 points of information is medium pace. And sentences that have 5 to 6 points of information is considered slow. Now, the only one you should be really concerned about is thick. If a sentence is thick, you need to maybe break it up. Okay? There is nothing wrong with having a fast, medium, or slow sentence. It's the way you utilize them, and if you have a whole bunch of them in a row. So if you have a passage that's made up of 4 slow sentences in a row, that might be something to examine, but a fast, medium, or slow sentence by itself is not necessarily a big issue. Same thing with movements or passages, okay? A movement can be a splot of dialogue, it could be narrative beat, whatever the case is, it is simply just a passage, all right? But we call it movements because it should be focused and have intention on basically one idea. You can explore that idea, you can go deeper into the idea, you can even have thoughts on the idea. But it has to be focused on that idea. We talk about that all the time. I will go over movements if we can get to it. All right. When it comes to scenes and chapters, that's the only time you're going to just look at word count for a fast estimate. That's it. So obviously, if you have 4,000 plus words in 5 scenes in a row, you might have to do a little work. There is just numbers wise, that's telling me something is up. So that's one of the tricks about being a developmental editor. When I was a script doctor, you just sort of look at scenes, and if a scene is like 7 pages, that's 7 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like right off the bat, if there's a 7-minute scene and then another 7-minute scene and then like a 15-minute scene, sometimes when you're looking at the broader picture, it's easy to say, all right, something here needs work before we even go into the specific details. But we're not really focused on this pacing element right now. We're focused on information. All right. With that said, let's do it. So this is obviously a fast sentence, 5, then it's slow, and then 3 is considered medium, and then we get fast, and then we get slow. So none of these sentences are technically thick, okay? But if you notice, rhythm. So when people talk about the rhythm and movement of sentences and constructions of your passages, this is an example what pace looks like when you switch it up. It's fast, fast, slow, medium, fast, medium. All right? So that's just a quick visual representation of pace moving. Now, if all of these were 5, like if every single one was just like, then it's like, all right, let's break it up. Now, let's look at the passage itself. This obviously is a fast movement because there's only 1 point of information in that entire movement. Let's look at this movement. There's 2, 7, well, actually, this is 8, 9, 10, 14, 16. 16 means that it's thick. All right, so this is pretty long and just visually, I already know it is. That's the quick fix. Now, this becomes what? 8, 9, 10 is considered slow pace, and then this is 6, and now this becomes medium pace. So now we have a fast, slow, medium. And now the pacing, or the speed at which information is presented to the reader, is now moving at a better pace. It's controlling the roller coaster. Just want to point that out. It's Camilla in the same Dracula cinematic universe. It's in the dark universe. All right. But I'm going to bring this back here. As a developmental editor or a writer yourself, if you find that a passage or a movement is in the thick realm, you might have more than one true movement in there. And it's just, the quick fix is to break it up. The hard fix is to go in and rework the information. All right. And then, of course, this is 2, 3, 6. 6 and 4 is 10, 11, 12. So this is 12. So if we're looking at this, this is technically a slow movement. So it's 1 point of information from thick, but it has earned itself. So again, if we do this, what have we done? We've done fast. Great. There's nothing wrong with that. Then we are in slow, then medium, and then this is also considered slow. So we go fast, slow, medium, slow. So that is control. You know when people say control the pace? That is literally what it looks like to control the pace. Is that the information is either being just molasses because it's thick and it's just too much information being presented at once, or you're breaking it up into these movements. Why are they called movements? For anyone who doesn't know, the reason they're called movements is because it is a focus and intention of a specific element or idea, and it creates a movement by how we perceive the information. So this is a quick read. It's subconscious. Jonathan Harker's journal is right to the point. We're done. And now we kind of sit in a movement. Left Munich on the 1st, arriving at Vienna, all this stuff. And then there's sort of like a subconscious break in our minds. This information is we are breathing this information. There's a beat, and then boom. And it's the same thing with dialogue. If you're going, what are you doing here? He asked. You could actually do this. You stay home. All right. This is a pace breaker, right? It controls the pace because it creates a subconscious beat, a breather. And now this first half of the sentence then becomes important information for the reader, and also the second half of information becomes important to the reader. These are technically 1 and 1, all right? This is one piece of information. You don't really count the dialogue tags unless it says he muttered or he whispered and stuff like that, right? You could do this also, and this like makes it more definitive for you if that's visually. Now, let's look at this. If it was just one sentence, if it was one sort of like thing like that, now it's just right in your face. What are you doing here? You were meant to stay home. So we don't get to sit with it as a reader. And that is what controlling the pace really is about. You create dialogue tags only for two purposes, clarity and pace. What are you doing here? He asked. You were meant to stay home. Do you see how those two sentences now stand out? Whereas in the bottom, what are you doing here? You were meant to stay home. There's no moment to breathe in those. So in dialogue tags do that. As far as your movements go, they are doing the same thing. In fact, if you really wanted to, you could do this. Okay? Now, this changes the rhythm of the pace that's being presented through these multiple movements, but they're short bursts that now allow your brain to sit in those things. So if we read it, Jonathan Harker's journal, 3 May, Biscuits, or whatever it's called, left Munich at 8:35 p.m. on 1st May, arriving at Vienna early next morning. Should have arrived at 6:46, but the train was an hour late. Budapest seems a wonderful place from the glimpse which I got of it from the train and the little I could walk through the streets. I fear to go very far from the station, as we had arrived late and would start as near the correct time as possible. The impression I had was... So, if you notice, It's sitting with stuff. This was a long read. I was running out of breath almost. But these pauses are natural edits. Okay? If you're looking at a film or television, they're actual cuts. They're like, and it's taking your attention from this now to this. So that is the difference between the movements being these thick beasts of a thing, which again, there's nothing wrong with thick movements. You just want to have them broken up, because visually it also helps organize the eye, and this technically seems and looks better to read because our eyes aren't being overwhelmed by these bricks. Anyway, so if I was developmental editing this, my notes would be, hey, you should break this up. If you're not going to rewrite anything, you should break this up. And I would just show the breakups. I would suggest the breakups, and I would go down. The real issue here is that it's mostly exposition, and it's killing it. All right, let's look at the second. We did pace. So show, sometimes tell. I don't have to really do this one. We did it when we did the original read because there was no showing. There was no emotional experience or choices. The environment isn't necessarily present. Why? Because the character's not interacting with it. I'll leave the paste there for you. Journal has nothing to do with environment. We arrived at Vienna the early next morning. This is just exposition. The train was an hour late. We're not really learning about the train. We just know there was a train. Budapest seems a wonderful place. That's not necessarily descriptive from exam. I could walk through the streets. This is a commentary. I fear I go far from the station, arrive late, blah, 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 blah. I know I'm blah, 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 blah in Dracula, but hear me out. The impression I had was, right, there's no real deep environment. You could make an argument for lived in world mechanics and character behavior only because we are learning about the world around it, but you'd really have to argue for it. I don't believe the world exists right now. I think we are just simply being informed. Again, this book came out in 1897. Very old. So writing has definitely changed over the years. Oh, yes, Camilla and Dracula. I'm sure they're completely different. All right, let's keep it going, though. All right. So this is why I'm saying, like, if you can't pass the first phase, a lot of this stuff, right off the bat, pacing would actually be a lot smoother and quicker if you interjected more character and less exposition. But you still need exposition for clarity and context. That's why I call it show sometimes tell and not show don't tell. You need to tell for context. Sometimes he was angry or he shut the door angry is not the focus. The focus is, and I use this example in my class, the character actually slamming the door and entering their kitchen and finding their best friend on the floor knocked out. That is the part you would focus on and slow the pace down and show. You don't need to always show every emotion. Sentence and movement level. Every sentence must have one or more of these three things: plot forward, character development, and or world building. Okay. On a separate sheet, if I was editing this, or if you are working on your own stuff, I take the same three elements: plot, character, and world, and I just have a separate list and I just mark down every element. So, like, for example, in Death of a King, my epic fantasy, when I mention Sarvians, I make sure to mark down that I said Sarvians, right? So just chapter 5, Sarvians. If I mention Naramor, which is basically the leader of the Naradita, I would mark Naramor and Naradita underworld. Okay? As far as character, if I see that Devious is sort of he's dealing with internal struggles and he sort of doesn't want to interact with the kids and he feels like an outcast, I would write that note. Devious is feeling like an outcast right now. All right? Zanaya is being very kind and comforting to Devious. Like, I would write that. That would be what I would consider character development, okay? As far as plot goes, it would be like Devious avoids the kids, and Emlyn is being a douche. Anyway, when it comes to these three things, every single sentence in your writing should have one or more of these three things. At any given time, the plot should be moving forward, character should be developing, or you should be building on the world. They don't all have to be there, but they can. You could have plot and world, plot and character. You could have plot, character, and world in a single sentence. You could just have world. You could just have plot. You could have just character. I will say this. The reason this is in phase 2 of my analysis system is because, honestly, even if nothing is really happening, it fails phase 1, you can still have... Watch, I'll show you. Well, obviously, this is plot. Okay, so if we, again, if we did... if we look at the colors, we'll say this is a plot, character, world. All right, so plot. Why? Because we know something. The plot is moving forward. We have information to place us in what is happening. It is the third, and it's what is that? Bistrix. So that's plot forward. Left Munich is plot forward. On the first, arriving at Vienna. Next morning, this is all plot forward. Plot forward. Budapest seems wonderful place. This is technically character. Right? From the glimpse which I got from the train and the little I could walk it. This is actually still character. By the way, this could change from the first phase to this, because there is a difference between exposition, description, and character versus what we're looking for now. Plot forward must move the plot forward. Character development is everything from their positions to them making choices and their emotional experiences. And then, of course, we have the last thing, which is world. World is anything that's cultural, political, any of that stuff. So what may have seemed like exposition or description in the first phase may not appear the same here. So it's good to kind of do both of these. Baby girl's down for the night. She's gonna take a long sleep, yeah. I think it's time for me to go to bed, I'll be honest with you. Finished my weird Western novella draft for now. Spent the last week writing a comedies and drama series. Pilot done. Fantastic. That's awesome. Very different challenge. Not sure which I prefer. Honestly, they both have their pros and cons. Danny, did you get... I hope you got my email. I sent you an email yesterday. I believe I sent you an email. All right, so I feared to go through the station as we had arrived late and would start as near as... This is technically plot. The impression I had was that we were leaving the West. I would argue that this is character. Anyway, again, because most of it is just exposition anyway, it's, but it's still doing it. I wish there was something where it wasn't moving plot. We left in pretty good time. That's plot. And came after nighttime. This is still plot. Plot. Here I stopped for the night. This is technically plot. Because something is happening. Right? That is what plot is. Remember, when we talk about, just to be clear, when I talk about this, something is happening on the page, but nothing is happening. Something is happening means that it's only plot, it's only exposition, it's only description, it's just telling you stuff. But nothing is happening means that there's no story. What does that mean? It means that every narrative is made up of both plot and story. Plot is what needs to happen no matter what, and story is how the plot unfolds through the emotional experiences and choices of your characters. Anyway, let's keep moving on because honestly, this stuff is all right. Logical narrative movement. Oh, let's see if there's logical narrative movement. I like doing logical narrative movement. Let's get rid of these just because. Just because. Yeah, I guess I'll do the second passage too. I'm not gonna do the whole thing though. Remember, doing the whole thing we could be here for days. We're almost done with the hour anyway. All right. So now we are going to do logical narrative movement. Jonathan Harker's journal. Let's see if we can connect this. This is all his journal. All right. This directly connects to his journal. Why? It's an entry. That's pretty good so far. Just popping in to say hi. Hello, Diana. Ooh, 13 votes. 13 votes. I'm liking it. Remember, we are going to talk about the poll in a little bit. The poll is, writers, which do you prefer reading about? We have vampires, not the sparkly ones. Fae, big, tall, short, doesn't matter. Werewolves. I'm not talking about they turn into wolves. I'm talking about the man-wolves. And, of course, ghosts and demons. Let's keep it going. We will be talking about that shortly. All right. So these two elements do connect. So the logical narrative movement is working. It starts off with a vague but informative point of information. Jonathan Harker's journal. Okay, what does that mean? Oh, he's marking down the date. That is directly connected journal. So, Bistrix. I think that's how you pronounce it. I could be wrong, but doesn't matter. Can we prove it? I don't know. Bistrix left Munich at 8:35 on May. Okay, a couple of things. We're gonna do this. We're gonna say this is yellow. All right, Bistrix does connect to this. Look at that. Logical narrative movement's in here. Even though it is exposition, remember, logical narrative movement is just to make sure that everything is connecting. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not accomplishing the first phase. That's why this is in the third phase. This is where we go into the micro stuff. This is where we look to see if it's all working on a this is the visible stuff. Everything we did before this is considered the invisible stuff. Anyway, I like that it's 1st of May. This is important because we now know how long it's been. Okay, arriving, left Munich. Okay, arriving at Vienna early next morning. This is a new piece of information. Should have arrived at 6:45. Technically, that is a new piece of information, but the train was an hour late. Fantastic. All right, let's see if the next... Oh, look, it's supposed to say, but the train. But remember, grammar is actually technically not the most important thing when it comes to creative writing. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. It's creative writing. You're supposed to be using the words as an attempt to be creative, artistic. You're supposed to create emotions and movements. And this is supposed to be written through, literally, the first-person perspective of the character, Jonathan Harker. Or Keanu Reeves. Whoa. I know Kung Fu. Oh, yeah. All right. Where are we? Budapest seems a wonderful place. Where is Budapest? Where is Budapest? Interesting. Budapest, Central Europe, Hungary. Left Munich. Arrived in Vienna. No, this doesn't connect. Fun fact, a lot of words back then in the 1800s, they did this, but Budapest is actually written like this now. The reason they do that is because they had different connotations. I actually want to show you something really cool. So tonight, as you can see, tonight is written to, and then that, and the reason is, and this is interesting, is because tonight actually meant it was tu niet, right? Tu niet, right? Which literally translates to at the night. So it was two separate words. Tonight really meant at the night because it was a shorthand of an older translation, which meant at the night. Anyway, over the years, it became tonight. It's like saying tomorrow, on the morrow. Anyway, two used to have, I don't know how to do the thing, but it had like the line over the O, and that version of two meant at or on. Anyway, it's just interesting to see that in older writing, and like how it affects it. Where are we? Okay. This doesn't necessarily connect to anything, so this doesn't get anything. From the glimpse which I got it from the train and the little I could walk through the streets. Train is the only thing that really connects to but train, purple. This technically connects the sentence to this. So hear me out. This then gets connected to this because from the train. Anyway, little of the streets. Let's go getting a little darker here. I fear to go very far from the station. Station does connect back to the train. And also technically connects to arrive, but as we had arrived late. As we had arrived late. This actually connects to the purple as well. This connects up there. And would start as near as the correct time as possible. This is also late. The impression I had was that we were leaving the west and entering the east, the most western. I don't know what this is, though. This is a splendid bridge. This technically still connects the train. All right, there you go. Oh, what we got here? Just spotted the email. Appreciate it. Absolutely, good sir. Absolutely. Munich. Well, Munich is Deutschland. But Budapest, I don't think is in Germany. Budapest is Hungary. That's what I thought. That's what I had found. Vienna is Austria, and then 3 countries in 1 story. Yeah, it's just boom, boom, boom. Anyway. All right. The logical narrative movement of this beginning is a little iffy. But again, that's what happens when you deal with mostly exposition. It kind of dries it up, and it'll just be like, we left in pretty good time. What? Should have arrived. This actually has to do... I feared to go far, arrive, and would start as near as the correct time. Ultimately, you could say this. You could do one of these. Boop, and you can, we left in pretty good time. My point is, the logical narrative movement is kind of iffy. You really have to earn it. I don't necessarily earn it here. I would play with it. But that's what exposition does when it's heavy exposition. All right, new movements. We talked about this already. There's no dialogue, vague but informative. Ooh, let's look at some filler words. There's really no filler words. Should have arrived. Was, ooh, my favorite word. The glimpse got the train time. I feared to go far after we had arrived and would start as near as the correct time. Which was. Were. By the way, seemed is definitely in here. Had is okay, but I think had is, yeah, had, have been. Had. Chicken done up the with. With actually kind of earns itself here, but I'm still going to mark it. Let's see. And he said it was called. And that very useful indeed. Having had time at my disposal. There you go. Where was seem? Seem was definitely here. Oh, seem was down here. Seemed. Seemed is used 24 times. Interesting. I wonder how many. Yeah, seemed was in the first passage too. There we go. Let's see how many times they use was. Was is used 74 times. Were is used 41 times. Interesting. With is used 61 times. Excellent. Okay. A lot. Let's see. Saw. Saw is used 12 times. Watched 3 times. Heard, I'm sure. Heard is 3 times. Okay, listened. Listened is only used once. Nice. Let's see if felt is in there. Felt is 3 times. touched twice. Let's see. Thought 3 times. Wow. Realized 0. Excellent. That's good. Is 120. Oh, no, you can't do that one. R30. No, you can't do that one because of other words. All right. Well, that's an example of was being used far too many times. Look, I even missed some. Was. What does that mean? It just means that it's written very passively. That's all that means. Passive. There you go. Ooh. Bram wasn't up to date on the TikTok rules. No, he wasn't. You haven't. Yeah, there's a lot of hads. How many wases am I allowed? You're allowed as many as you want. Remember, writing is just made up. It's all fake. It's your choice. You do whatever you want. The thing is, when you discover that you have was, I rarely use seemed. Well, that's good because it either is or isn't. But when it comes to was, but the train was an hour late. But is another one that you should technically be marking. However, when you see that you have, look, had was, okay, I had was. The impression I had was that we were leaving them. You should be looking to see if it earns itself. This is a thought, dialogue, kind of internal thought and dialogue breaks the rules. But when you get to it as it was a national dish, that kind of allows it because it's a statement of internal dialogue. It's just internal. I had for dinner, or rather support chicken, to come up with red peppers, which was very good but tasty. All right, let's look at this sentence. Let's be a little fun with this. All right. I don't know if you could see. If you can see. If you can see. Oh, what's going on here. All right. I don't know if you could see, but oh no, that's clear. Can everyone see what I have on the screen? If you can't see, let me know. Let me know if you can't see. Let me know, and I'll adjust it. The train rolled in an hour late. The train rolled in an hour late. Yeah. You can make it more active. Not in the 18. Well, that's true. I can loan you a few wases if you're interested. Did they not have wheels in those days? Wheels, bitch. You're an example of was being used far too many times. I see. I'm going to see how many wases I have in my account. How many wases do you have in an account? All right. I'll make this a little bit bigger just in case. Okay. My argument here is that had, with, was, passive constructs are okay. There's nothing wrong with them. However, they do take away from the experience. Okay. I had for dinner, or rather supper, a chicken and done up, right? The red peppers gave my chicken that extra crunch. Okay. So since it's first person, all right. The red peppers gave my chicken that extra crunch it needed. A spice or two more, indeed, would. Yeah. Would give it a zing my stomach appreciated on an occasional or two. Now we're sort of like learning who the character is. It gives us a moment to play with the character. It's just, you know, That's all it means. If you see was and had and with, it's just an opportunity to say, do I want to go deeper or not? If you want to write with all the was as you can, there's nothing wrong with writing, I was hungry and this chicken was a hearty chicken supper. It was filled to the brim. I felt full and happy. All in a long 3-course meal. Okay. All right. Again, there's nothing wrong. If you want to write that, go for it. There's all I'm saying is when you see lots of awesome. Thank you, Flowers. Thank you for sending that thing. My point is just when you see that you have a lot of wases and a lot of hads and a lot of whiffs, it just means there's a small chance that you might be missing an opportunity to do something, to allow the character to kind of stand out a little bit more, to give the character a chance to present their positions or to add personality. There is no personality in this, really. Left Munich at 8:03. I know it's a diary entry, but train was an hour late. Okay, like, look. Left Munich at 8. Arriving at Vienna. Apparently trains. That little this little tiny thing right here adds a position. It adds a character beat. It adds, you know what I'm saying? If it's just data, it's just, you're missing. You can write endless pages of exposition and description, but the point is, it just misses out on opportunities to have the character be present. Just was my overused word. It was everywhere. Just in time to find it. Yeah, everybody has, they're called pet words. They're words that we just become attuned to, and we just fall to them because that's who we are. Because at the end of the day, you know, I use the word soul a lot, and I had to sort of like cut that out. I think I allowed myself 1, maybe 2 times in the book, but they are there. If you're looking at like a 0 or a first draft, you will see them a lot. For my books, I try to get rid of soul. I try to get rid of silent, though I do kind of use that word a lot. It's just, you know, sometimes it just becomes very apparent. 20 in an unedited chapter of 20. Hey, it's a little less than 20%, you know. Again, you can have all 20 wases in that chapter. My suggestion is just simply, are you missing an opportunity to have a moment, to allow the character to experience what was on the page? Again, sometimes it's not the most important thing, and you want the pace to keep you going. You know, it was cold outside. Fine, keep it going. Okay, you just want to get him in the house. Oh, the cold was hard to move through, and he just you know, wanted to. He just had to get home. You know, and with the winds blasting at him, he needed to get to that door. Like, you know, sometimes that's, you just got to get through it. The original phase was a bit confusing, or rather, no appetizer. Well, antipasta. All right. I overused just 2, Danny, and really, and oh. Well, yes. Yeah. Again, if you find that you have pet words, it's important to sort of notate that and say to yourself, do I want to keep them or do I want to clean it up? This is why I try to not use the word with and was, because I used to use them all the time. And it's just, it cleans up the writing. And probably tea. You need tea with your appetizers. Anyway, I think we did everything, right? Yeah, we did it all. Is the vague but informative there? Whoops. It's probably easier to see that at the end of the day if we look through the whole chapter, but there is nothing vague. Right off the bat, if when you're doing the first phase and it's all red like this, right? Most likely, most likely it's not vague but informative. All right. Boop. I like as much as. I like as much as. Oh, as much as. Yep. As much as means it compares things of equal quantity or degree. It costs as much as the other one. Even though. It could also mean even though, or to the extent that, or he as much as admitted it. You have to any pet names you have, you definitely have to earn it. I am still so impressed that you can dissect the manuscript like that. I am blind to all that stuff. If it makes you feel better, it took me years to start realizing how to analyze things. I had people that started telling me what to look for and said, hey, once you write, you know you're allowed to look for these things. And I was like, oh, I can. And I started kind of the way I had to do it so I didn't become consumed by it was I had to write everything and ignore that stuff. And then I go back and I started like doing the analysis. So don't do the analysis while you're writing. Do the analysis once you're done with a full draft. So if you could finish your 0 draft, go back, do your analysis through the whole book. If you finish your first draft, do it again, blah, 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 blah. It's just who we are. All right, everybody, we have a poll today. The poll is, writers, which do you prefer reading about? We have vampire. Oh, we have 14 votes. So if you haven't voted yet, feel free to vote. We have a 3-way tie. Anyway, vampires, non-sparkly ones. Fae, doesn't matter if they're big, tall, winged, or unwinged. Werewolves. I'm not talking about Twilight werewolves or True Blood where they turn into wolves. I'm talking about those man wolves. And of course, ghosts and demons. We will talk about that in a moment. But before we do, I do have to do my spiel. That's just so true, Danny. Just so true. I was expecting that. All right. If you didn't know, by the way, I've been killing it with the How to Write a Narrative. You could watch by joining the YouTube membership program, or you could join Patreon or Substack. And either or, you'll be able to watch the How to Write a Narrative. Remember, the first 3 videos of How to Write a Narrative are free. After that, it goes into the paywall. I will say this much. I am still adding episodes to it. We are on 13 episodes, I believe, right now. I definitely will have another episode this coming week, but there will be more episodes. My goal is to try to get to like 25 videos, and then I'm going to start a new series. The new series will allow the first 3 videos to be free again, and then the rest of the series, or course, I should say, will be a paywall. That second course is going to actually be focused on writing. So this How to Write a Narrative is more of the big picture and how to like put everything together. The second class will be how to compose prose. I will show you how to write in first, third, omniscient, third, limited. I'm gonna push the boundaries. I'm gonna give you options and show you how everything works. So that's that much with that. So keep that in mind. None. I only like the sparkly vampires, so I chose ghosts and demons. Ooh, and witches and Lucifer. Can't go wrong with a Lucifer. My favorite werewolf transformation is from the TV show Hemlock Grove. Interesting. What about the werewolf in London? Okay. Do you now struggle to just enjoy a book you're reading and not analyze every line? I'm feeling that creeping in already. I'll say this much. If it is with books, not so much. With books, I will read the book first, and then I will go back and I will analyze. The same thing with screenplays. Screenplays, I could read a screenplay and just get through it, unless I'm being hired to developmental edit it. But I still try to do the first read as an experience read, and then I go back and I analyze it. Because honestly, let's put it out there. If you enjoy the read, Like, if your beta readers are like, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and you had 10 beta readers and 8 of them loved it and 2 were like, honestly, it's working. Doesn't matter. All this stuff we're talking about, none of it really matters. If people love it, Twilight exists for a reason. You know what I'm saying? There's just something about the internal experience that is more enjoyable for readers than the aesthetics, the external visuality of it. There's something, the it factor, as they call it. So with that said, I cannot watch a movie or a TV show without my brain just analyzing. So TV and film is really difficult for me to just sort of enjoy. I will say this though, if I'm going in to see like a Transformers or like He-Man or something like that, like if it's a movie, there's no way I'm gonna watch Transformers and allow my analytical brain. I already know it's crap, but I want to see transforming robots from outer space. I watched Morbius, and I went in there half asleep, eating my sandwich, and just sitting at my computer and just watching this thing and just trying to sludge through it. I had no interest in seeing if it was good or not, because it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Film and television, because I worked in that industry the longest, my brain just sort of, I can't shut it off. But if it's a movie that I know is just popcorn or there are movies I know are going to be garbage. Or shows. There are shows I know that are just awful. And my brain just won't even analyze anything because I'm just going into that's a great question. Are you Team Edward or Jacob? Obviously, I'm Team Edward because I like vampires. But I'm also neither of those. I don't like Twilight. I can't get through the Twilight. Where are we? Oh, I was doing my spiel. If you didn't know, I have books available. That's right. Go to makeitrightleft.com. I have books about outlining and narrative. The first half of this book is all about understanding narrative movement, flow, and just really basically how a narrative works. The second half is ultimately how to outline, but specifically using the 27 plot point outline. If you like epic fantasy, this book is available on Patreon and Substack. Read a chapter a week. It's fantastically fun, but it's the 0, 1st, and 3rd drafts with educational elements, and I also explain my choices. These are the chapters before polishes. If you didn't know, I have this book available, The Foundation for Longevity, and its second book, Finding Solutions with Talent. All right, these books are available. There are 5. They're already written. I am just slowly releasing them. If you didn't know, I also have a noir that is available on the Patreon and Substack. This is not the cover, even though everyone wants it to be. This is just a picture of me, and then I asked AI to put some rain back there. Now, this is only 0 draft, but it is educational, so you can enjoy it. If you didn't do so already, remember to bloop that beard and bloop that like button, because at the end of the day, YouTube, for some reason, likes interaction. It creates an algorithm dance, and everybody has a lot of fun. That's all I'm saying. The other thing I'd like to point out is don't use AI. If you use AI, it ruins the industry and the creative element of the writing world. But if you choose to use AI, remember to tip writers by purchasing their books and leaving reviews, and then we'll forgive you. Okay. Oh, by the way, I do have also quick reference sheets. Again, if you are a member on YouTube memberships, Patreon, or Substack, and you have not gotten my templates, so this sheet, the other sheet that I used today for the analysis, or the sheets for treatments, I have treatments for film and television. If you want those, just email me. And if you're a member, it's free. It's free. It's for you. But if you're not and you want these things, remember you could just go to the link in the description. It's for PayHip. They're very affordable, and they're extremely detailed and educate. They explain what you should and shouldn't do. It's great stuff. Great stuff. Other than that, oh look, we got a whole thing. Neither. I've never seen Twilight. Christopher Lee. Yes. I am Christopher Lee, and I am Dracula. He's also a super spy. Can't stand vampires. That reminds me of my friend. I couldn't stand him, but mostly because he was in a wheelchair. He'd fall right over. Just want to put that out there. All right, but the wolves in Twilight are not werewolves. I agree with that 100%. They are a different breed. Shapeshifters that happen to become wolves. It's the same thing with True Blood. I haven't recorded a new one because I have the new book available and a couple other things, so I haven't had time to do pre-record. Tommy Iron Crew. Hey M. Oh, M. What's up, M? Hey. Evening Angel Faye. I like a good ghost story. You can't go wrong with a good ghost story. Speaking of, let's get to the poll. All right. Oh yeah, we got. What's going on here? Why's it getting? Okay. Which writers? Which do you prefer reading about? We have another three-way tie. All right. It looks like okay. We'll start with my least favorite, Faye. Faye, not interested. I don't care. There's too many Faye. I will say this though: if you write about Faye, I think it's awesome. Have fun with it. We all have our, our loves, our desires. More importantly, though, more importantly, when it comes to the Faye, I think they have multiplied like bunnies, and there are far too many of them. But that is my only critique. This is the thing. I love vampires, but there was a time when everything was vampires, and I was like, "Whoa, simmer down now, simmer down." But I think there are far too many Fae, and like I want something to stand out. That's my only reason I wouldn't choose Fae. When it comes to vampires, I do love a good vampire. However, here's the thing. I'm a fan of the first two Underworld movies. Top notch. Good stuff. They're vampires. I get it. It's just... Then you get something like... what is it called? The first kid... What is it? The Jim Carrey vampire movie? Is called Once Bitten. You get like an Underworld, and then you get like a Once Bitten. That's all I'm saying. Maybe we could skip that. But then you get like a Fright Night, and it's just like traditional vampire, and it's just fun, and it's scary. I'm all in. But I think vampires, the further away from Dracula you can get with a vampire, the more interesting it is. That's why I did like Blade, mostly because I like comic books. I came from comic books. So I liked Blade and their kind of like play with vampires. I like that they kind of like exploded, and I get it. But the further away a vampire gets from Dracula, the more interested I am in that vampire. I do like Dracula, and I like, how can you not like, I've traveled oceans of time, right? I get it. I understand. But the further from Dracula, the more interested. I want a unique vampire system. That's why I kind of really liked Interview with the Vampire and Vampire. I love Vampire Lestat. Obviously there's issues with the books in general, but now I don't like the TV shows. The TV show of Interview with the Vampire, because first of all, the vampires there's only I think 2 characters in the entire Anne Rice vampire world that actually have intercourse. Everybody, anyway, it doesn't matter. My point is, the further away from Dracula, the better. When it comes to werewolves, a good werewolf movie is awesome. I like when a werewolf is in control too, like when it's a powerful werewolf and like, they're the protagonists. Like, I'm into that. I do write about werewolves and vampires in my epic fantasy. There are werewolves and vampires, but I don't necessarily say they are right away. There'll be more and more. I'm going to get into it. But out of these three, I would probably choose the vampires. I'll be honest with you. I probably would choose vampires over everything. When it comes to ghosts and demons, which is in first place with 44%. Can't go wrong with a ghost or demon. I would prefer a demon over the ghosts, but I put them together because it's supernatural. I was going to write supernatural, but I wanted to be a little bit more specific. At the end of the day, though, fantastic demon story is really good. I think a ghost story is good too. I'm not a fan of the scare you ghosts. You know, like when you like, what is it called? What is those movies? Those like real time, ghost franchise that is found video. What are they called? The Paranormal Activity. Those movies. Those aren't. I don't consider those like ghosts. Like they're not. I think they're more demon stories, to be honest with you. But they're just fun watches. But I don't think like. But a good ghost or demon story, yeah, absolutely. That's definitely worth the choice when it comes to reading. Let's do it. All right. Oh, look at this. We got a whole bunch. Suck it. But come on, Bill. What are you doing? Suck it. Yes, Faye would be last on my list. Yeah, that's the thing. Like in True Blood, like this. By the way, I got duped into watching True Blood because I watched the first season. I was like, this is terrible. But I was like 4 episodes in of This Is Terrible. And my friends were like watching it and they just wanted to talk about it. So then I watched it. And the ending, I like the twist. I'm not going to give it away. But the twist of the first season was really good. My issue with True Blood, other than the poor writing, the second season was all about, I'm okay with sex and nudity and stuff like that. But the second season was just like, how do we have people do stuff? However, my biggest concern with True Blood was every single character, except for maybe 3, had either supernatural powers, was a supernatural being. The chances of such a small town being completely consumed with all these people, that's when I was just like, everybody. It just, I wanted some humans. I like the human experience around that too, you know? It had some stakes. No pun intended. The only aspect I like with vampires is those hunting them. Oh, yeah, like a vampire hunter. I do, you gotta hunt the vampires. Blade was okay. Would prefer a non-vampire killing them off. They're parasites. Interesting. Would we consider Blade a true vampire though? Because he's a half breed. He's half human and half the vampire. I thought the Van Helsing, that's who I was trying to think. Van Helsing movie was boss, but I was about 12, but the reviews are terrible. Need to rewind. I was reading this article that said the Van Helsing werewolf, spoiler alert, in that movie is the best and most accurate depiction of a werewolf. First of all, just because the werewolf is attractive. Second of all, how is it the most accurate portrayal of a werewolf? A, we have no factual evidence of a werewolf. So the idea that it is the most accurate reminds me of this quick story, if I may. This is an aside. There was this kid that I called my friend for a while, and he said to me once, have you ever seen Event Horizon? It's a movie from 1975. Anyway, there's a moment in the movie where an astronaut like dies in the vacuum of space or whatever, and he goes, that movie is the most accurate the most accurate portrayal of what happens to you when your body goes into the vacuum of space. First of all, a couple things. We actually have no physical evidence of what it looks like visually when somebody dies in space by having the vacuum. We have theories. Wait. We have theories, but he was saying it's the most accurate. And I go, are you talking about the 1997 horror movie that is about demons? How is Event Horizon, where Lieutenant Justin attempts to finalize himself by exposing himself to the unpressurized airlock, how does that portray the most accurate and stylized version of space decompression? Because it does. I go, his skin stretches tight and his veins bulge out dramatically, and then blood streams heavily from his face and eyes, and boom, he explodes. That isn't how it works. He goes, no, it's the most accurate. Anyway, when people say when there is no physical evidence of something, how can it be the most accurate? It could be interesting, but anyway. Power, yes, I was like, I've seen almost all of them. We're talking about paranoia activity. Anyone watch Blade on TV? One episode, shut it right off. Blair Witch was cool. How do you know the temperature? I did like Blair Witch. The second one, I could have lived without. I hear they're making a remake. When I was a kid, there was a movie called Lady in White. Oh, is that the movie with Matthew? Isn't that the one? The one with the eagle or something like that? Oh no. Oh, 1948. That is I am thinking of a different movie. I'll have to look into that. I wrote a cute little comic about a little kid accidentally summoning a demon. It's always accidental. The demon is shocked. The child was not afraid, and the child invited the demon. First of all, this sounds awesome. First of all, awesome. There's this show called Ted. I think it's called Ted. Ted is in it, and they go they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and in the game, the demon is like, "I am the demon," and then they're just like, "Am I right?" They just start having a cat. That kind of stuff. No notes, and that's what that makes me think of, is just no notes. Please tell me you're gonna bring that into the modern world. M is Bride, based on the Hazelwood novel with the infamous Willies. You can't go wrong with a little Willie. Hey, how's it going? Hey, what's up? Hey, hola, ¿cómo está? Sounds like an experiment is in order. We definitely. Who here is willing to go stand outside of space vacuum? Actually, they have done vacuum tests on humans. But what I'm saying is we don't have a visual representation of somebody in space dealing with demons and interdimensional portals and somebody dying in front of us. I'm just saying we don't have the thing. It's like saying when Lestat gets his throat cut in an interview with the Vampire, the movie with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, that's the most accurate depiction of what happens to a vampire when you cut their throat. It's just not. It can't be the most accurate. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. We can theorize. We can do tests. Right? What does it look like when blood comes out? How does the blood pale? How does the body pale? But it's a vampire. I'm just saying. I'm afraid to ask. We're all afraid. Kind of like the Nazi face melting off. Good stuff. You can't go wrong. That's a great movie, Mike. Indiana Jones and the what is the Ark? It's the temple, not the temple. Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones. Oh, and the Lost Ark. Yeah, it was the Lost Ark. I was right. By the way, the most accurate portrayal of a man having his face. All right. As for the poll, all these things make villains well, but I don't read things that glamorize, if that explains my stance better. Yeah, it works. However, there are good vampires. Underworld, technically a hero. Blade, technically a hero. Van Helsing turns into a werewolf. Technically a hero. It was 1988. Ooh, 1980. All right, let me look at that. 1988, Woman in White. A woman in... Is it... Oh, Lady in White. Lady in White. There it is. Oh, I think I've seen this movie, actually. The little kid with the big ears. That looks familiar. It's a clock room after school as Halloween prank Frankie, the mutant Lucas has, meets the ghost of a young neighborhood girl, Melissa Ann Montgomery, who had been found strangled to death. Oh, no! Wow. Lucas has. He's still acting, right? Or is he dead? He's 50 years old. Yeah, look at him. I think I've seen that movie. The Bride, not Blade, Thomas. The Bride. Oh, The Bride. Oh, The Bride of the Frankenstein. The Bride of the Frankenstein. John Lithgow was in it. He was very young, I'm assuming. Beowulf was 8th century folklore. That's about as real as you'll get. I am Beowulf. Right. I don't know, Emma. I think it was a mishmash of a couple of the early Bride of Frankenstein films. Don't you flex your cherry poison at me, Bella. Oh, wait, are we talking about the Bride movie that What's-Her-Face made? The Jake Gyllenhaal, Maggie Gyllenhaal? The Bride. Yeah, it was, Maggie Gyllenhaal. It's like, how do you pronounce it? Gyllenhaal? Gyllenhaal. Something like that. I remember they say Gyllenhaal, but Jake pronounces his name differently on a show once. He's like, no one could pronounce it. The Bride. I haven't seen that movie, and I don't think I'm going to. It just looks... Oops, not John Lithgow. Alex Rocco. Oh, that guy. Yeah, that guy. He's been in a lot of good stuff. He usually plays a serious dude. All right, funny you should mention Hazelwood, Emma. I just got myself a mouthful of hazelnut. Listen, some people are allergic to the nuts. Not me, though, not me. My friend's book had a demon in it. He was allowed to come to Earth, and he became a PT. I'm already interested. It was hilarious how he... being in the world and wanted a puppy. That sounds... That's what I'm talking about. That's what I want to see. It's like when I'm watching a movie where it's like they take themselves too seriously, but like it's supposed to be whatever, horror. And I'm just like, why can't we just see this person having explosive diarrhea just for a scene? Because then I'm interested. Why can't they just say outrageous stuff? Is all I'm saying. I just feel like sometimes we miss opportunities. Werewolves in space would be a fun concept. By the way, Afghani, Jason in space is the most accurate portrayal and presentation of Jason in space. I just want to put that out there. It is the most accurate representation of what it would look like if Jason was in space. I'm sure it was really cheesy. I was 16. There's nothing wrong with a good cheesy film. Nothing wrong with a good cheesy film. It's better than it looks. Maybe. It was called Exorcising a Demon. That's great. Wordplay, no notes. Top notch. It sounds so good. That sounds so good. Touche. That's right. Jason. Jason in space. Jason in space. Oh my god. Some good stuff though. It's... All right, everybody. We got a couple minutes. Got any questions? Let's do it. Let's get it out of the way. Let's make it happen. That's what the priest called it, flowers. Ba-da-da-da. I love it, Lenny. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, Exorcising a Demon. Top-notch title. Top-notch premise. That's fantastic. It is fantastic. That's a fantastic idea. Tell your friend they need to make that happen. If they haven't already wrote it, I'm just saying. They need to get it out there. All right, what do we got? What do we got? We got this. I don't care about that. Got that. Oh, schedule. By the way, I guess I could do it tomorrow, but we got some stuff coming up. Oh, yes. We made it up. All right, any questions? Feel free. If you don't have questions, that's okay. No one gets judged here. We don't judge a lack of questions. We prefer questions, but we don't judge a lack of questions. If you have questions on writing in general, your book, remember, I am a developmental editor and a writing teacher, so it's free advice. What do we got here? Oh! Self-editing file. Thank you very much. Whoever just, somebody just purchased the PayPal. Payhip. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I just got a notification for that. Fantastic. Oh, we judge the inner book. We judge the inner book. Oh, what we got here? In between chapter edits, I've been piecing together the blurb. My story is dual POV in first person, past tense, for the blurb. How strictly is third person present tense used? Oh. My story is dual POV. Wait, what? In between chapter edits, I've been piecing together the blurb. My story is dual POV in first person, past tense. For the blurb, how strictly is third person present tense used? And you have more to that. Another thing that's quite common appears to be a split blurb for each of the two PMCs. Can you tell I haven't watched your blurb video yet? That's all right. No judgment. The simple answer is, by the way, you can use the blurb as an opportunity to sort of present who the character is through a first person. However, traditionally, a blurb is used as sort of as a sales point, as a third-party advocator for it. You know, like some advocator. So the way I would approach it is you can present the two POVs. You could say, you know, don't write what I'm about to tell you. I'm just using it as an example to get you sort of like in the headspace, you know. A story about two blank blanks, one raging through the blah blah blahs, and the other exiled to the ends of time, you know, whatever the case is. So you present like the premise or the it's called the thesis sentence or a thesis position, and then you kind of expand on it. Don't give anything away, obviously, but it's basically who are the protagonists, what is the conflict, will they, won't they? That's the easy way to go about it. As far as the third person, it's not that you're writing in third person, though technically I guess you are, but it's omniscient, if anything. You wouldn't write a blurb in first person. However, you can because it is creative art, but it is also technically marketing. My thing is, I would say Flowers, because I love you. Write it, send it to me. I'll give you some notes. We'll get it nicey nice for you, okay? Apparently, the name sounds like Yell in Haria. Helia he, Hyla he, Hyla hoo, Hyla hoo he. By the way, can't buy your new book yet. That's all right, bro. You've already purchased my books already, and you're always so supportive, and it means the world to me. You know, there's no judgment. I'm grateful that you're even a friend to me. You know, you were saying you're a fun guy. Stretching thin financially. If you want, we can go into the footfinder.com business. If you you know. I'll take the pictures, you post them, we'll go 50-50. Cause when I Googled it, seems to suggest third person. Well, it's because somebody should be talking about the story, so that's why it's third person. That's it. Because it's a sale, you know, you're pitching it. You're pitching it. I'm stretched thin too, Ro. I think I need to change my diet. Hey-o! Em, if you want to get in on this foot fetish, this footfinder.com, please let me know. Just the same friend we were just talking about has written her blurb in first person, and it got me wondering. You can't, again, it's creative writing. You could do whatever you want. You could even do it in second person if you really wanted to. You follow along with these two crazy people, one evil in its incarnate, and the other sentenced to death at the ends of time. You could do that. I'm not that mental. Actually, do I have back? What? Oh. This is Game of Thrones blurb. From a master of contemporary fantasy comes a novel of imaginative power unlike any you've ever read before. In A Game of Thrones, George R. Martin has created a genuine masterpiece, bringing together the best the genre has to offer. Mystery, intrigue, romance, and adventure fill the page of this magnificent saga, the first volume in an epic series, sure to delight fantasy fans everywhere. A Game of Thrones. Long ago, in a time forgotten, preternal, what? Preternal, what? Here's my glasses. It's so tiny. Preternatural event through the seasons out of balance in a land where summers can last decades and winters a lifetime. Trouble is brewing, the cold is returning, and in the frozen wastes to the north of Winterfell, sinister forces are massing beyond the kingdom's protective wall. To the south, the king's power are failing. This is, again, I don't think this is a very good block. It has evolved over time, right? Sweeping from a harsh land of cold to the summertime kingdom. Game of Thrones tells a tale of lords and ladies, soldiers and sorcerers, assassins and bastards who come together. And I feel like this is not really the story. Sorcerers, assassins, and bastards. Does the first book have sorcerers? There are like no sorcerers in this first book. Assassins. Who tries to kill someone? Oh, they try to kill Bran. Bastards. Yeah, those bastards. There are soldiers. There are lords and ladies. Sorcerers, though. I don't even think they ever use the word sorcerer. There are grim omens. Anyway. The whole point of a blurb is just to get people to read the book. Apparently, it doesn't have to be interesting. My comedy series pair is a priest. I'm already interested. Slipped into an alcoholism, drug, and chaos. The day he's fired, he bums into former party friend. Oh, bumps into former party friend from younger days, but now a Buddhist, fighting the same urges. Oh, that's interesting. I like the contrast between the strict priest turned into a Buddhist, and he has that's interesting. I like the internal stuff that's going on there. Depends on how filthy you like your feet. That sounds fabulous, Danny. Right? Yeah, the priest thing sounds pretty interesting. Oh, I meant to ask, how do you come up with a pen name? Well, you get you get pen, an apple pen, and then you get a pineapple, a pen, pineapple pen, pineapple pen, pineapple. Wait, what's it? Pineapple pen, apple. How do you come up with a? You could do it whatever you want. You call yourself Jacob Hiram Schmidt. There is no formula. It's not like your drag name, where you have to come up with your first street and your first pet. I don't believe in pen names, only because I was raised on the idea that we are our own brand. Saying that, I did have 3 names in the music industry. I was Thomas J. Bellezza, which is also a stage name technically, because that's not my full name. And then my stage name was Lord Telmorn Altanian. And then I acted as our manager in the beginning, and my name was Guy. And my email was the guy next door, so everyone called me the guy next door. Never did they meet the guy next door because he refused to meet anyone in person. Anyway, people literally started believing that Telmorn was his own person and Thomas, me, was an own person. And the reason is because if you saw me on stage, I looked quite different and act far different than I did off stage. And I shrunk down off stage as Thomas, and I was bigger than life on stage. That was the goal. But Thomas J. Bellezza was the name everybody knew. That was the business person. That was the business brain. It was the writer of the band, all that stuff. However, if you really want to use a pen name because of all the lore out there about if you're going to write in different genres, you should have different names for each genre. Go ahead, do whatever you got to do. But at the end of the day, how do you come up with a pen name? Honestly, let it fit the genre if you really wanted to. Let it fit your personality. Do whatever you want. If I was going to come up with a pen name, I'd probably be like Omus, Joseph Omus, or Omus Joe, Omus A. I don't know. It is intriguing. It is. Danny came over. Danny, some great ideas. Bran. Oh yeah, he was the same. Hey, how are you? Oh, hey. There's a comma missing there. I'm great. I'm fantastic, and welcome to the live. We are getting close to spoilers. I'm assuming for Game of Thrones. I'm off to bed. See you tomorrow, Angel Faye. Bye, Angel. There was a sorcerer, but she's not in it until the second book, right? I think she's in the second book, is what I'm saying. Game of Thrones. Miri Maze. Oh no, isn't she a witch? She's a witch. A sorcerer, by definition, is somebody who has the innate ability for magic. She was considered a god's wife or a magi, which is technically a religious shaman. She was a holy woman, not a sorcerer. However, she did know blood magic. Oh, they call her a sorcerer once. And then someone calls her a mage because she is not defined as a sorcerer or mage. People call her a sorcerer or mage. She is branded a witch, though, and I think they kill her. Yeah, they do a ritual sacrifice. That is in the first book. Spoiler alert. But I don't think she's an actual sorcerer. Game of Thrones sorceress. The only person that's considered a sorcerer is the Red Priestess. But they're priestess. They're not sorcerers. Whatever. Interesting. I would argue that. See you later. Good night, Temptation Johnson. What's this? Oh, Small but Mighty on F-Book. I did my drag queen name. I'm tipsy. Kiss me? Kiss me? Kiss me? Kiss me? Kiss me. Am I saying that right? Is that an English word? Kismis. Is that like Kinsmith? I don't know. It's a good name though. I like it. I like Tipsy in there. It's really good. So, what do you think about philosophy books? How teenager read an apple? How he can grow with mental toughness or mentality strong? Like what he should do for becoming. He should be David Goggins. Oh, what do you think about philosophy books? How teenager read an apple, how he can grow with mental toughness or mentalities. Can you rephrase that question? I think you're asking, what do I think about philosophy books? But then I think you're saying a fictional book that explores a teenager who reads, and I'm assuming eats an apple, and then he grows with mental toughness or mentally strong, like what he should do for becoming. He should be David Goggins. Are you talking about Walter? Yeah, just rephrase that, just so I understand. I'm sorry, I have dyslexia, so sometimes I have a hard time reading. I think it was the first book. Well, the first book has the witch, but she's not a sorcerer. And then the red witch, which is also in my mind not a sorcerer, she comes in for the people of the fire. Long distance memory for me. Long distance memory. Worked every time. All right. Okay, everybody. We did it. 2 hours in. We got all the questions. All right, we did fun. Tomorrow we will be playing around with a Write a Book with Me series. Hopefully, I'm going to finish the chapter. I have faith inside me that I'm going to finish the damn chapter. It's literally one more beat, and then we get to move on to the next beat. Sometimes I fly through it. Sometimes it's a little slow. The reality of it is ultimately that writing is a process. But I do like talking to you guys more than I like working on this stuff, because it is just a project of exercise and potential. But at the end of the day, we're all here to have fun, grow, and develop ourselves as authors. With that said, I'm out. I gotta go. I think I'm gonna eat. Maybe I'll have a hot dog. I guess I gotta do the dishes first, and then I can have a hot dog. It's sort of like I earn the hot dogs. Hot dogs are disgusting, by the way, but they remind me of my papa. So that's really it. I'll see you later. To everyone out there, much love as always. I'm off. I'm Thomas J. Bellezza. As always, keep developing the right mindset. Thanks for supporting me. You're the best around. Bye.